Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Robert Kaufman Fabrics, quality fabrics for quilting. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. And The Warm Company, inspiring products for creative people. Hi, and welcome to Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community. I'm Mary Kate Carpetras, and we're back today with Patrick Lose, our special guest for this 12-part series. And today we're talking with Patrick a little bit about his background and how he got started and what embarked him onto this entire career. So starting back from the beginning, I think, right?
Yeah, I actually have some very, very early memories of, when I was really little, like 2 and 3 years old. And,
wow.
And I thought maybe they were just, things that I was dreaming up. But my mother confirmed some of the things that I knew I was really remembering, that I drew, and I played with crayons and things like that.
Even young. From that really early young age.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the reason that I remember things like that is the reaction that I got out of it. Either my mom or my dad at the time would be the ones that said, "Oh, that's amazing, beautiful," or whatever, no matter what it looked like.
What were you drawing? Do you know?
No, not then.
Do you have any artifacts that your parents preserved for you?
No, I have other things, not drawings, but like handprints and the more sculptures and that kind of stuff. But as far as drawing, I drew whatever was around. It was like, not at that early of an age, but I remember more when I was maybe in kindergarten, first grade, that I would stare at things and kind of study them and sit down with a pencil and try to copy what I was seeing is how I looked at it.
Can you think of anything in particular?
Oh yeah, there was one, I was maybe 8 years old, I would say, and I remember this potted philodendron that my mother had, and I wanted to draw it. I don't know why I wanted to draw it, but that just seemed to be the thing to do. And I remember my mother being in awe of what I drew. And I remember that I thought I was pretty happy with it too, but I had just picked up a piece of blue paper, it wasn't even art paper, I was just sketching, and I remember her taking it from me and just being so amazed by it, and taking it to my father and showing him, and then his reaction from it. And I think it was that kind of got me rolling. It was like the reaction that I got,
right.
And that, every kid wants acceptance or approval or whatever it is, and getting that at such a young age, and being feeling like I was almost entertaining people around me, my parents especially, and that mentoring is what really. The support of that is what kept me going.
Right, but obviously you found, you had an aptitude for drawing.
Yeah,
your brain worked in that way,
yeah.
and you were able to latch onto that pretty early on. So you kept drawing. You just, at school.
I remember even into grade school. Yeah, and I went to parochial school, and the nuns were just so. They really wanted me to succeed and excel at this, and. So every chance that they had, I always knew if it was time to change the bulletin board on the wall, that they were going to come to me and say, Patrick, would you, like to do the bulletin board again this month, or whatever. And I looked forward to it, but then there was always the other kids that thought I was the teacher's pet or whatever because I was doing this. And
you can't worry about that. I mean, that's a problem. A lot of kids will get that feedback and they'll stop doing whatever it was
and
that they love to do.
I'm so glad I didn't. Yeah, and honestly, that turned into more of the other kids in my class that didn't have any, real natural artistic talent were coming to me and asking me to help them with it. So it did work out well. And again, it was sort of a positive reinforcement that they were doing that. And I felt like I was falling into a niche. This is what you do. This is your thing,
right.
and nobody else's. And,
right.
and it really wasn't anybody else's in my class. I never, through grade school, there really weren't other kids in my class that were like artistically driven like I was.
But you said that they were coming to you, so you were getting mentored, and in turn, even at that young age, you were turning around and teaching.
Yeah, I think it taught me to want to teach, and that's why I love it so much now. And even on into college, after I took a commercial art program, I wanted to teach in that program, so I went back and did that. And I think they're hand in hand for me, to have a talent and to see other people that don't have it and really yearn for it. You want to try to pass some of that on. If there's anything that I can do to get someone feeling better about, whether it's quilting or whatever, to make them feel better about what it is that they're doing, that I feel successful doing that. It's not just, oh, I can draw a pretty picture or whatever. It's trying to, well, again, and it's making friends with people. That it's a whole process when you're helping someone out with stuff like that, and I just enjoy the whole process.
Well, that's great, because I think I speak for a lot of quilters when I say the reason I got into quilting is this way I don't have to draw, because I don't consider it my thing.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that.
Right. And this way I can buy pretty fabric and I can, find a pattern or, maybe play around or something, but so much of that legwork is done for me.
Right.
So to speak. And so you do find a lot of people who get into quilting thinking, I'm not artistic.
Right.
But there's something
But they
about
are.
it. Exactly. And it helps bring that out. And
it's not just craft. A lot of times people think, oh, I'm not an artist because what I do is crafting. It's taking objects and making other objects out of them. But you can't do that if you don't have some sort of an artistic vein running through you.
Absolutely. I
it's
think
a vision,
we undersell ourselves a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I have to unteach an awful lot of things when I do go out and teach in classes, because people are so they've had it drilled into them that you can't even draw a stick figure.
That's not your
whatever.
thing.
Yeah, it's not your thing. Or they feel that way, like you said yourself, you just knew at an early age that was not what you were going to do, it wasn't your thing.
Right, and partly is because my friend Laura was the artist.
Oh, okay.
So Laura's the artist,
Yeah.
and you do these other things,
right.
and near the twain shall meet, and
that's right.
And like
And
I
it's too
said,
bad.
but there was still something in me that wanted to express myself in a
creative
visual
ways.
medium,
Yeah.
and so quilting just appealed to me.
Cool.
And here we are. So.
That's great.
So after grade school and going into high school, did you explore other mediums, or was it pretty much always
in high school?
drawing?
It was more. I was kind of intimidated because going from a small parochial school where I was one of a couple of hundred students in the school, and then going on to high school, which was a parochial high school, also where all the different parishes in the city, all of their kids went to that school. So it was a much larger. I think there were 500 people in my class alone, of the 4 years that I went through. And I felt intimidated because I was put into art classes. There were other people that could draw. There were other people that could, do photography or whatever it was. And I had never experienced that. I just thought I was the one,
you were
the only one in my
now
world.
in a bigger pond.
Yeah. So it made me work harder.
Good.
It was good. And I can remember, I wanted to take a class at the Des Moines Art Center. They had some really renowned art teachers there, and I wanted to take a life drawing class. And it was drawing nudes, and here I am, a sophomore in high school, and the teachers are saying, you've got to go do this, you've got this talent, this is something that you could do or at your age. And I remember my mother saying, you're not going to, and I understood that aspect of it too, but one of the teachers went to my mother and said, he really needs to do this. And my mother gave in, and she had that foresight, to let me do that, even though it was something that was foreign to her, and that is kind of how my years in high school went with art. I went from drawing to painting. I had the best teachers. I mean, they were just so supportive. And then I got into an English class that was taught by a drama teacher, and
that's just the best combination possible.
It really, yeah. Well, I didn't think so at the time. She was a very charismatic woman, and she thought that I needed to audition for a school musical, which, completely foreign to me, and I was a very shy.
Well, dragging boys into musicals is really hard sometimes.
I had a friend, though, one of my best friends in high school, had been in the musicals throughout his 4 years, their freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and he dared me to audition along with him.
Good.
And I kind of thought, okay, well, if he can do it, I can do it, and I did. And I got into this. Annie, Get Your Gun was the first musical that I was
just going to say, anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was. And my drama teacher was like, you've held out on us for, you've been here for 4 years, and this is the first thing you've done. And I always thought I was tone deaf. I didn't know I could sing. And so here was this whole other thing starting to develop. And I found myself being drawn to something else creative that had nothing to do with my drawing. Although for Annie, Get Your Gun, I was asked to help on the stage crew paint the sets. And I can remember there was one particular backdrop of the city of New York, and I painted King Kong on the top of the Empire State Building, a plane flying over with machine gun
was that
shooting
just a
it.
little too much artistic license for them?
Well, a little. They actually laughed. I mean, they thought it was hysterical, but all the people in the first few rows of the theater could actually see it, and it was a little bit distracting watching Annie Oakley, shooting away, and here's King Kong at the top of the Empire State Building. But
so then you got pulled into theater,
Yeah.
and you kind of, did it detract from your artistic pursuits?
oh, completely.
Your fine
You know,
art pursuits?
we always say that quilters get bit by the bug. I mean, there's
Right.
definitely a quilting bug. You get into it and you're stuck. Theater's worse. I mean, if you, and it was, you know, the same thing that was happening to me growing up from childhood. All this mentoring and all of the reaction that I was getting from the things that I was doing was positive reinforcement. And when you're on a stage and you're singing and people aren't mocking you and they're actually
Right.
enjoying that you're doing
It's a
this.
drug.
It is an
It is a
absolute
drug.
drug.
Absolutely.
And I was totally smitten.
Well, we're going to talk about that, I think, a little bit
Yeah,
more in
let's
our
do.
next episode.
Yeah.
So please come back and join us for our next episode, where we're going to get more into Patrick's theater life. Please visit quiltersnewsletter.com to view any of the episodes with Patrick, and we will see you next time. Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Robert Kaufman Fabrics, quality fabrics for quilting. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. And The Warm Company, inspiring products for creative people.